The night was unusually quiet, yet inside the Peterson mansion, silence was shattered by a storm of grief. The candles from the memorial flickered in the soft wind, throwing broken shadows across the walls. Just hours earlier, the house had been filled with the sound of mourning, but now, the children sat huddled in the corner of their room, their world ripped apart. Their parents, the very foundation of their lives, were gone forever. And as if that loss wasn't cruel enough, fate had a darker twist waiting for them. Behind closed doors, the people they were told to trust, their own uncles, were already plotting to take everything their parents had left behind. The children had no idea that a fortune worth $100 million, a legacy meant to secure their future, was being stolen right under their noses. Before we continue deeper into this emotional journey, let me pause and ask you something important. If you believe in kindness, in justice, and in second chances, please take a moment to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to our channel, Kindness Corner. Your support helps spread these powerful stories of hope and humanity to more hearts around the world. The Peterson children, Amelia, just 16, Joshua, 12, and little Noah, barely 7, clung to each other after the funeral. Their mother had been the warmest soul, the kind of woman who turned a house into a home, who never let them go to bed without a kiss goodnight. Their father had been a visionary businessman, admired for his honesty and generosity. But in a cruel twist, a sudden accident had taken both their lives in one tragic moment, leaving the children orphaned. While they mourned, their uncles, Martin and Charles, moved like shadows through the family estate, whispering in legal corners, falsifying documents, and convincing themselves that wealth belonged to them. Greed burned in their eyes as they erased every trace of the inheritance meant for the children. The first days after their parents' passing were unbearable. The children were told that the mansion and everything inside it had to be sold to cover debts. Amelia, though young, sensed something wasn't right, but she didn't yet have the courage to question the grown-ups who barked orders at her. She watched helplessly as moving trucks carried away furniture, family heirlooms, and even her mother's piano, the one she had played every night to calm her children before bed. By the time the mansion was emptied, the children were left with nothing but a suitcase each and the cruel laughter of their uncles echoing as they closed the gates behind them. Amelia tried to be strong. She held her brothers close as they stood outside the gates of the mansion, tears streaming down their faces, their once safe and secure home now a cold reminder of betrayal. They were sent to a small, cramped house in the poorer part of the city, a far cry from the warmth they had once known. The walls were damp, the beds were broken, and meals often consisted of whatever Amelia could scrape together from the few dollars given by relatives who pitied them, but dared not challenge the uncles. Nights were the hardest. Joshua would whisper, asking why this happened, and Noah would cry for their mother until he fell asleep in Amelia's arms. Months turned into years. The children faced hardship after hardship. Amelia, though just a teenager, took on the role of both mother and father. She worked odd jobs, babysitting, cleaning, even selling handmade crafts at the street market, just to keep food on the table. Joshua helped where he could, running errands for neighbors while Noah grew up too fast, his childhood stolen by the weight of survival. They walked past schools they could no longer afford to attend, watched other families celebrate birthdays with cakes they couldn't dream of buying, and endured winters with no heating except the blankets they huddled beneath. Yet through all of this, Amelia never let go of hope. She remembered her father's words, "No matter how dark it gets, the sun always rises." She told her brothers that one day things would change. One day they would rise again. And though they didn't know it, the truth of their parents' legacy was out there, waiting to come to light. The turning point came unexpectedly. Amelia, now 18, had secured a part-time job at a law office, running errands and organizing files. One evening, while sorting through old archives, she stumbled upon a familiar name, Peterson. Her heart skipped. She pulled the file closer and, with trembling hands, began to read. It was her father's will. Her breath caught as she read the words everything, the entire estate worth $100 million, had been left to his children. Amelia's eyes filled with tears. All the lies, the suffering, the betrayal, it was all clear now. Her uncles had stolen what was rightfully theirs. But Amelia was no longer a helpless child. Fueled by the truth, she sought justice. It was not easy. Her uncles had money, connections, and influence. They laughed when they learned Amelia was digging into the past, mocking her as a foolish girl chasing impossible dreams. But Amelia had something they did not: resilience, courage, and the unshakable bond of family. She reached out to honest lawyers, journalists, and even former employees of her father who still admired him. Piece by piece, the truth unraveled. Documents surfaced, witnesses spoke out, and slowly the walls of lies built by Martin and Charles began to crack. The courtroom battle that followed was brutal. The uncles fought to silence Amelia, using every trick in the book. But the sight of her standing tall, defending her brothers, and speaking with fiery conviction won the hearts of many. The judge, after weeks of testimony and evidence, finally declared the truth. The inheritance belonged to the children. Tears streamed down Amelia's face as the gavel struck. Justice, long denied, had finally been served. But what came next was even more powerful. With the inheritance restored, Amelia didn't choose revenge. She didn't let bitterness poison her heart. Instead, she used the wealth as her parents would have wanted. She enrolled her brothers in the best schools, rebuilt the family mansion not as a palace but as a home filled with love, and created a foundation to help orphan children so no one else would have to endure what they had. The uncles, stripped of their stolen riches, faded into obscurity, their greed leaving them with nothing. The Peterson children, once cast out and broken, had risen again, not just with wealth, but with the kind of strength that comes from surviving the storm and finding the light on the other side. Their story became one of inspiration, a reminder that no matter how much darkness surrounds us, truth and kindness have the power to heal and rebuild. And now, dear viewer, if this story has touched your heart, I ask you to take a moment to like this video, share it with those who believe in hope, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. By doing so, you help us spread more stories of resilience, justice, and the unbreakable power of family. Before we end this journey, I want to ask you something special. Please comment below. Tell us how this story made you feel. Did it remind you of the strength of family, the importance of kindness, or the power of never giving up? Your words may inspire someone else who desperately needs hope right now. Life has a way of testing us in the harshest ways. For Amelia and her brothers, the storm seemed endless, but hidden within that storm was the seed of resilience. Their journey reminds us that sometimes the people we trust most may fail us, betray us, or even try to destroy us. But that doesn't mean our story ends there. What defines us is not what we lose, but what we choose to fight for when everything feels impossible. Think about it, these children had every reason to give up. They had every excuse to let bitterness consume them. Yet they chose courage, they chose kindness. They chose to honor their parents' legacy, not by holding on to anger, but by rebuilding their lives with love. That is what makes their story so powerful. Because true wealth isn't measured only in money or inheritance, but in the strength of our character, the purity of our hearts, and the hope we pass on to others. Their victory wasn't just in reclaiming the 100 million inheritance. Their real victory was in showing the world that darkness can never truly defeat the light. And in that way, this story belongs not just to Amelia and her brothers, it belongs to anyone who has ever been hurt, abandoned, or betrayed, yet found a way to rise again. So let this story be a reminder for you too. No matter what trials you face, no matter how many people stand against you, never stop believing that there is a sunrise after the darkest night. Never stop believing in kindness, in justice, and in the strength within you. Because sometimes, the very pain that tries to break you becomes the fire that shapes you into someone unstoppable.